research shows that lawyers face a higher risk of mental health and addiction issues. Today, I'm joined by Christin, the Executive Director of the Legal Professionals Program at Caron Treatment Centers. He's here to talk with us about how to reignite your professional passion and not turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Link, thank you so much for being here today.
It's great to be here. Let's
get started. We know lawyers face high levels of pressure in a very demanding industry. So how do you address burnout in a healthy way?
Burnout is a condition where literally it affects most caring professions, where the caring profession, the professional, takes in the trauma and the stress of their client or their patient. So when that happens, they kind of cease functioning. They no longer can be caring. They're often nasty and abusive. They don't like their job anymore. And that's clinical burnout. When people have that or feel it coming, the best thing to do is identify it if you can and get professional help, a therapist and that sort of thing. And you can work your way out of it. As a practical matter, ways to ignite your passion or reignite your passion, let's assume you loved your job 5 years ago, is to, first of all, I think, connect with the people at the job that you may have isolated from while you're having burnout, and connect with them again. Have lunch with them, go to the functions at work, stop in somebody's office and talk about a subject you have in common. But just feel like you're part of your firm or your company again, and you're connected again. And the other part of that, I think, is to have more of a work-life balance. And I think that happens by connecting to your purpose and your goals in life, which often were formed when you went to law school, and to look at whether or not your job's still fulfilling you professionally and in terms of your purpose. And even after you make that assessment, I think the key is just to achieve a little more balance in your life. And that means maybe having fun again, maybe not working 12, 15-hour days, carving time out for things with your significant other, for things for yourself. And that can be anything from an exercise to golf to tennis to a yoga practice to a meditation practice. And it's really just a matter of breaking away from work and doing things that satisfy you in other ways and also help decrease your anxiety and decrease your preoccupation with work at the same time.
So let's say you make those changes. Is there then a way to change the mentality of those individuals that have been facing these problems and really lessen the pressure?
I think that will work to change the mentality. I think your typical workaholic, of which more Americans are probably workaholics today than ever. I think the whole idea is to change priorities with the individual or encourage them to, or if it's you, change your priorities. I think for many of us, work was always the number one priority. And we felt like if we did work well, other things could go by the wayside. We would trade off other things in our life, our health, our relationships, our well-being, how physically strong we were. All those things would go by the wayside when you make work your only priority and your only target. So a lot of it is saying, guess what? Maybe work's not my number one priority. Maybe that's not what's going to show up on my tombstone, is that he or she billed 20,000 hours. So it's a matter of a shift, I think, in your own life and what's important to you, and actually be willing to make the trade-offs to do that, which sometimes means you make less money, sometimes you don't hit artificial goals that are imposed by your job, but it's a real trade-off that's more of a deeper long-term happiness and security than you have by just grabbing for these work goals.
So what are the unique signs and symptoms of lawyers with substance abuse disorders?
I think the signs for those lawyers are much like anybody's signs that you've seen at a party. You have too much to drink, you slur words, your eyes are bloodshot, your face is red, your gait is not steady. But I think particularly for lawyers, the way to analyze this is to look at whether or not there's been a change in their behavior. And that can be seen by your management, it can be seen by the person in the office next to you, and it can be observed by staff. And I think everybody in a law firm or a legal community should be tuned in to whether or not somebody's behavior, their long-term behavior, is changing suddenly. And that can be things like they keep their door closed instead of open. It can be things like how they dress and how they appear at work. Are they well groomed? Are they on time, or are they starting to be late? Are they getting their work done, or are you hearing more excuses for them being late? And those kind of behaviors might end up being non-substance abuse. They might be because somebody's depressed, or they're going through a divorce or a sickness or something like that. But at least those are the behaviors that are consistent with substance abuse, which can later on be tackled in an expert way by a support system.
Excellent. Link, Christin, thank you so much for this candid discussion. We really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
And if you would like to learn more about Caron's treatment programs, you can visit caron.org.